Hey everyone. So today we're going to be reacting to a trailer for a documentary called Born in Gaza. I believe this documentary is available on Netflix. It was made in 2014. Even though it's 2020, it's still very much relevant. Now, I've seen a lot of Palestinian documentaries about Palestine, Gaza, the West Bank, and this one is obviously no different, has its strengths. I think they're all important, but this one I specifically wanted to highlight due to the fact that it's available on Netflix and due to the fact that it really tells the everyday life of Palestinians living in Gaza.
أنا بحب البحر. أنا انولدت في البحر. نفسي أضل طول عمري في البحر، أسبح وأعيش في البحر وأنسى كل المشاكل اللي حوالي وأعيش وأضل طول عمري في البحر.
I think what's important about this particular film is that, um, well, number one, again, you see the everyday life of people in Gaza, um, and just like the day after effect, the day-to-day effects of the war and the constant bombardment from the Zionist Israeli forces, that the occupation, the effect of the occupation. Now, again, there's so many dimensions you can talk about when it comes to Palestine, but the thing that's unique about this documentary that I haven't seen in others is the fact that, and you may already know this, many Palestinians are dependent on fish for their diet. So it shows the importance of the fishing industry. And then it also follows the lives of different children and families throughout the documentary, and the fact that everyone in Gaza has pretty much lost somebody. Now, there's another reason I'm making this documentary, in light of what's going on, especially in 2020, and what's happened with people who are involved in Dawa. Um, Muslims have faced a bombardment from atheists, Christian missionaries, Hindu Vata, um, just a range of people, Islamophobes, people who think that believe in strange conspiracy theories about Islam and Muslims, that they somehow control the world, and we have all this power. Because they might be watching something like this and they might think, oh, this is just a propaganda piece. But I think after they watch the fifth documentary, I think it's very difficult to say that, and just looking at the facts, because there certainly is a lot of propaganda around this situation, but a lot of that is obviously coming from um, Israel. So the point I'm trying to make here is that if you're a minimum human, you have a little bit of empathy, you understand the Palestinian situation, then you can understand why Muslims are sensitive. With all that's going on in China right now, with the Uyghurs in Syria, in Kashmir, Palestine, obviously, Mali, Central African Republic, um, Bosnia, Somalia. There's just so many incidents I can mention, that I probably am forgetting. Afghanistan, Iraq, right? And the interesting thing about it is, that old cliche narrative that Muslims hate Jews and things like that, and Muslims want to damage and hurt Jews and all the kind of bakwas and BS. The truth is that if you actually look at Islamic history and the way Muslim empires and governments typically treated Jewish minorities, it was much, much more compassionate, than Christians ever treated Jews. In fact, you can even look at early as the time of the Prophet Muhammad SAW, to and the way he dealt with in terms of justice, to Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu an, and all the way up to Maimonides, and even more recently, in World War I and World War II. Um, Again, it's may come as a shock to some people, but Islamic societies have a place for Christians and Jews, and treating them kindly, treating them mercifully. But obviously, with the condition that they need to follow their books and whatnot. So, anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that, it's really unfortunate how misconstrued this entire situation is, and I really do wish every Canadian, every American, Australian, UK citizen would every Westerner, Muslim and non-Muslim, would watch this film. And the reason I even say Muslims should watch this film and Palestinian documentaries is because we're starting to forget about Al-Aqsa and Palestine and what it means to the Muslims. And of course, every situation, any place where human beings are suffering today, it should be important to Muslims, of course. And this is just one of them. So again, if you have not already followed the situation in Palestine, Palestine, do try to get your hands on some documentaries. I think a lot of them are free on YouTube. This one, I believe, is on Netflix at the moment. It's called Born in Gaza. I do recommend checking it out.
ها دكاترة مش فاهمين له قصدك لا مش فاهمين له طلعونا يا برا يساعدوه نسوا اللي صاروا معنا.
There's some really interesting visuals in this documentary as well. I don't know if they'll show it here. Right here, actually. That's it right there. So this is actually a really important screen that I wanted to share with you guys. Now, those of you who might be on the fence or who might be empathetic towards the press releases coming out of Israel, keep in mind something. So, right, this is typically what the narrative that Israel spins is that, well, you know what, there's rockets being fired from the Palestinian side and they're hitting us. We live in fear and all those kinds of bogus exaggerations. And I say that because they have what that dome, the Iron Dome, I believe, that deflects a lot of the rockets. And another important fact to mention is that anytime you look at the you can't even call it a war or conflict, really, because it's really just one-sided, where Israel is just bombing the hell out of Palestinians. But anytime there is a war, really just look at the numbers. Just look at the loss of casualties. The Palestinian side is typically, for every one Israeli life lost, there's 100 Palestinian lives lost. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I know that the last couple of wars were in the thousands, whereas the Israeli side was like just under 5 or under 10, very minuscule, if anything. And sometimes the Israeli side, it was due to friendly fire, or it was due to a soldier on the ground, or something just ridiculous. But the point I'm trying to mention here is just look at this image, right? Look at this image and the damage that the Israelis deliberately do to the Palestinian infrastructure. You will never see this kind of damage done to Israel by any means, right? Not even close. So this is a really important fact. I think Muslims and non-Muslims, everybody around the world needs to remember. Remember, here in North America, people are they don't get an objective view of things, right? If you look at Europeans, even France and the UK, a lot of people are educated in terms of what's going on between the Israelis and Palestinians. They know who the aggressor is, right? And Israel is a great propagandist. There's another film that you may want to watch called, I believe it's called Peace, Propaganda, and the Promised Land by Sut Jali, who's also a Canadian. And he made this excellent film. May not be the best quality because it was released almost 10 years ago. Again, Peace, Propaganda, and the Promised Land. And that really outlines how Israeli propaganda works. And there's some of the best propagandists are based right there in America, who are very much allied with the Christian right, because it stems from this belief that Isa alayhi salam, Jesus Christ, is going to come back, and that's why we need to support Israel, which is, again, it's bogus, because Jesus Christ would never endorse or stand by this kind of torture that's being inflicted on the Palestinians. So again, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may God have mercy on these people. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring justice. And I want to give a shout out to those Christians and Jews who have also, and people from different backgrounds who have actually stood up for the Palestinians and recognized the oppression that's being done there. Because I know that there's people on all sides that are doing good work, good humanitarian work, trying to bring food, basic necessities, and generally awareness to to what's happening in Palestine. So if you can, inshallah, try to make a donation soon to support through your local charities and registered charities to the poor and suffering in Palestine, and remember them in your prayers, and remember to be grateful for what we have, inshallah ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.